What's up, YouTube? This is your friendly neighborhood movie nerd, back to give you guys everything that is going on in the world of movies and TV, and I am back with yet another top 10 list. Alright, so we're halfway through the July. The year of 2017 is almost over. I am still getting over that, and I have to say, despite the fact that this summer is light years better than last summer, it's still been a pretty disappointing summer overall, which is why I'm immediately looking forward to the rest of the year, because man, do we have a lot to look forward to for the rest of this year. We've got a new Paul Thomas Anderson movie, a Steven Spielberg movie, a Guillermo del Toro movie, another movie from the directors of Little Miss Sunshine, a Steven Soderbergh movie, a Catherine Bigelow movie, and so many more movies to look forward to. So you guys all know I did my top 10 most anticipated movies for the year of 2017, but the problem with that list is because there are only a certain amount of movies that are available to list off at that certain time, that being the end of last year, specifically the biggest blockbusters, there really doesn't give me a lot of chances to do some of the more smaller movies that always come out at the end of the year. Now for some criteria, no movies from my original list of movies that I was looking forward to in 2017 will be anywhere near this list, so no Star Wars, because I think we can all agree that everybody's looking forward to that and knows about that one. So without further ado, let's take a look at the remaining 5 months of the year, and I'm going to round off the top 10 movies that I am looking forward to for the rest of 2017. But first, here are some honorable mentions.
Step away, you can't take the heat on the battleground.
Neither of them have been telling us the truth.
He attacked me!
I'd advise him to accept the deal.
World full of imagination.
Can't name him after me. He's too perfect.
Is there a specific incident that troubles you?
The natives in the Amazon worshiped it like a god.
Get him out. What are you talking about? No.
We need to take it apart, learn how it works.
Miguel?
What is going on?
Remind me how I know you?
They're your family. We have to get you back home.
Number 10. Kingsman: The Golden Circle. So Matthew Vaughn has slowly become the saving grace of comic book movies right now. The same year that Edgar Wright released Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Matthew Vaughn shocked the world with Kick-Ass, a comic that you never in a million years would have thought would make it onto the big screen. Then, he rejuvenates the X-Men series with one of the best prequels and superhero origin stories, X-Men First Class, and then, rather than coming back to do a sequel to that, quits and decides to work on another passion project based on another obscure Mark Millar, Dave Gibbons comic book. This project ended up becoming the first Kingsman film that was released in early 2015, and holy shit, that movie rocked. From the sly but never too on-the-nose meta jokes to the amazing over-the-top action set pieces, Kingsman: The Secret Service was a complete surprise, and one that I'm very glad we got, especially because now we're getting a sequel. But unlike a lot of other sequels to this movie, Vaughn is coming back to actually direct this one, and if the trailers are any indication, this movie is going to be just as fun, over-the-top, and full of clever references and plenty of fancy, expensive liquor, as this time, after the destruction of their base, the Kingsmen head to America to team up with their counterparts there, the Statesmen, which includes the likes of Jeff Bridges, Halle Berry, and Channing Tatum, in order to stop the new villain Poppy, played by Julianne Moore. The film is set for a September 22nd release. Number 9. American Made. Tom Cruise. Man, oh man, what a mixed bag you get with this guy. From 80s heartthrob to full-on action star to Scientologist, then back to action star, and all the while not aging over the course of 30 years. It's impressive to say the least, but something that can definitely be said is that over the last year alone, Cruise's filmography really has not been that solid. Cough, The Mummy. No denying that the guy's still one of the true movie stars left, and what he's able to do with all the stunts he does is truly spectacular, but it's been a while since we saw anything really new and cool from him. Leave it to Doug Liman, however, the guy who directed one of the most unexpected successes of 2014, Edge of Tomorrow, to bring Cruise back into the acting limelight with this entry, American Made, the based on a true story of Barry Seal, a TWA pilot who was recruited by the CIA to help counter the emerging communist threat in Central America, which would in turn lead to his involvement with Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel. This trailer shocked me simply for the reason that I think it's the first non-straight-up action movie we've gotten from Cruise in almost 20 years. We've gotten so many different biopics in this decade alone, but the fact that we've got a director-actor pair akin to, say, a Fincher Eisenberg or a Boyle Fassbender, not to mention it being one that's already given us gold once before, and you have got my number 9 entry, which is set for a September 29th release. Number 8. 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. Just this past year alone, I saw easily one of the most underrated gems of the late 2000s released the same year as The Dark Knight, and that would be Martin McDonagh's In Bruges, the story of two Irish hitmen who, after a botched job, go undercover in Bruges. I really liked it, and it introduced me to what Martin McDonagh is capable of as a director, which is why I'm so very much looking forward to the third feature-length film from him, which stars Frances McDormand as a woman who wages war with the police department in her town after her daughter is murdered and no arrests are made by raising 3 billboards outside of town questioning their ethics situation. With a massive supporting cast that includes the likes of Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell, John Hawkes, and Peter Dinklage, there's said to be plenty of coarse language, hilarious hijinks, fantastic acting, and just plain insanity as we follow McDormand's quest for justice, which gets released November 10th. Number 7. Battle of the Sexes. When it comes to award season, a lot of the go-to pictures for the big awards have been biopics, and it's understandable when you consider what the Academy looks for in a movie. Which is why as soon as I saw the trailer for this movie, I smelled Oscar bait, until I saw it was being directed by Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris, the directors of a little movie back in 2006 called Little Miss Sunshine, easily one of the best films of that year, as well as the movie to show me that Steve Carell had some dramatic chops to him as well outside of The Office. Teaming up with Carell again, as well as recent Academy Award winner Emma Stone, Dayton and Faris set out this time to tell the story of the legendary tennis match between Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King in 1973, which was meant to boost Riggs' public persona and ego after having just scored a victory against Margaret Court at the time. The film was being written by Simon Beaufoy, and it looks to have exactly the right amount of charm, comedic timing, and melancholy to it to make it more than just your typical biopic. Carell and Stone both look like they're going to get well-deserved Oscar nods both. The film will be released on September 22nd. Number 6. Bright. So David Ayer has been having a very, let's say, interesting career as of late. Since he popped up on the scene, he really made his mark by retconning the definition of grit when it comes to movies, having directed such movies as Harsh Times, Street Kings, End of Watch, Sabotage, and Fury. And last year, he made his mark on the superhero role with the critically divisive next installment in the DCEU Suicide Squad, which despite his comments, I still refuse to believe was his, in the end, the movie that he wanted to make. Despite my thoughts towards Suicide Squad, that doesn't change my thoughts towards this movie, because at first, I was interested based on the premise alone, which sees Will Smith teaming up with Joel Edgerton to solve a crime in a world that mixes gritty street drama with epic fantasy, as this is a world where mythical creatures like elves, goblins, and orcs interact with real everyday struggles. Then I found out that Max Landis did the script, which automatically gets a pass from me considering that Chronicle is one of the best mixes of superhero and found footage I've ever seen, and I think Victor Frankenstein is easily one of the most criminally underrated Frankenstein films. I love fantasy movies, and it makes me really sad to know that the last great fantasy movie we got was 14 years ago with Return of the King, and I'm really intrigued to see how Ayer is going to blend these two very polar opposite genres together. The film has finally gotten an official release date and will be released on December 22nd exclusively on Netflix. Number 5. Wind River. Over the last 2 years, we've gotten two starkly different and yet eerily similar films, both in the indie western genre. Sicario, a movie about a DEA agent who gets involved in a corrupt CIA group set out to end a drug cartel, and Hell or High Water, a movie about two brothers who are dead set on paying back a bank that's trapped them in a reverse mortgage after their mother's death with its own money by robbing it, while being hotly pursued by two aging Texas Rangers. Both films have one thing in common. They were both written by Sons of Anarchy star Taylor Sheridan, who's making his directorial debut here with a story about a rookie FBI agent played by Elizabeth Olsen being sent to a Native American reservation to investigate a murder with the help of a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service agent played by her Marvel co-star Jeremy Renner, and finds herself way out of her league and in over her head. For starters, the fact that Taylor Sheridan has written two of the best movies in the last 2 years has me looking forward to this movie on one level, but on another level, this is a type of movie that I really haven't seen before. It's an out-of-your-element story with a Native American ghost story kind of a feel to it, and that gives me the type of originality that I just have not been getting from movies as of late. This film is set for an August 4th release. Number 4. Detroit. Despite Patty Jenkins' most recent success with Wonder Woman, women directors have typically had a hard time making it into the big leagues director-wise, but Kathryn Bigelow has been one of the few to have achieved that level, both by being James Cameron's ex-wife, as well as directing two of the most critically acclaimed military movies of the last decade, The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. Now, she's surprisingly not making the military the center of her next movie, choosing instead to focus on a much smaller story. The Algiers hotel shooting during the 1967 Detroit riots, which resulted in the deaths of 3 black men as well as the severe severe beatings of several more black and white men and women. The film centers around John Boyega, who plays Melvin Dismuke, a security guard during the whole affair, and this film from the trailer alone is looking to get Bigelow her third Best Director Oscar nod and possibly win this time around, as well as Mark Bull his third writing Oscar nod, as well as potential Oscar nods for lead star John Boyega, as well as its massive supporting cast, including the likes of Jacob Latimore, Hannah Murray, Jason Mitchell, Will Poulter, Jack Rayner, Anthony Mackie, and John Krasinski. But besides being a clear Oscar darling, this film does look to continue Bigelow's signature style of grit and handheld in-the-moment style shooting that she did so well with Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30. The film opens up on August 4th. Number 3. Logan Lucky. Another director who's made some great movies in the past, Steven Soderbergh is a guy who's been for the most part staying out of the public limelight for the past couple of years, with his last really big critical hit being the HBO original movie Behind the Candelabra, released way back in 2013. He said he was retiring, but like most people in Hollywood, those types of statements have to be taken with a grain of salt, because 9 out of 10 times when a person in Hollywood is retiring, it just means that they don't have any new ideas that they want to work on currently. But as soon as I saw this trailer, I was immediately in, because with just 1 minute, I got everything to both hook me into the movie, as well as remind me what a great director Soderbergh is. This film itself follows the Logan siblings, comprised of brothers Jimmy, played by Channing Tatum, and Clyde, played by Adam Driver, and sister Mellie, played by Riley Keough, who are trying to outwit a family curse that has given them nothing but bad luck their entire lives. They attempt to do so by pulling off an elaborate robbery during the Coca-Cola 600 race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, with the help of criminal mastermind Joe Bang, played by a freshly frost-tipped Daniel Craig, who is clearly done with James Bond and ready to get back to his real acting roots. The film also sports a massive ensemble cast with the likes of Seth MacFarlane, Sebastian Stan, Catherine Waterston, Katie Holmes, and Hilary Swank all joining the 4 leads, and the film looks to have just as much southern charm as it does dumb hijinks, as well as to include the likes that Soderbergh has proven himself to be so good at in the past, which is working with a great ensemble cast, as his best movie in the past was Ocean's 11. The film is set for an August 18th release. Number 2. Good Time. A24 is a studio that has shot up so far in terms of the popular mainstream that if you look back to when they first started in 2013, you never would have thought that they would be where they are now. But that's what happens when you not only win Best Picture, but also happen to release a solid half of the best films of the decade so far. Despite a few bumps so far this year, they look to once again take the top prize with this next installment, which sees Robert Pattinson, clearly off his Twilight hate train, playing a Russian gangster who is dead set on getting enough money to get his brother, played by film co-director Ben Safdie, out of jail after a bank robbery gone horribly wrong. All the early reviews I've seen coming out of the festivals for this movie all seem to have one thing in common. The movie has a lot of elements of mean streets, and Pattinson's performance is Oscar level good. Obviously, I'm going to have to see the movie to verify if any of this is true, but it's certainly enough to get me excited and intrigued to see what this movie is going to be like. The film is set for an August 11th release. And my number 1 selection is Disaster Artist. Yet again another biopic, only this time we might quite possibly have the biopic to end all biopics. Because in this next outing, James Franco, Seth Rogen, and crew are tackling the behind-the-scenes making of what is widely regarded as the worst movie of all time. The movie that literally wrote the book on movies being so bad they're good, The Room, with Franco both directing and starring in the film as the doomed director Tommy Wiseau. The film also sports a massive cast comprised, surprisingly, not of their usual crew, so no Danny McBride or Craig Robinson anywhere to be found, with the supporting players this time being Franco's brother Dave, I'm Dying Up Here co-stars Ari Grainer and Andrew Santino, Zac Efron, Josh Hutcherson, Alison Brie, and Jackie Weaver. But what gets me the most is the fact that not only is this technically Rogen and Franco's first outing that's not a straight-up comedy, but apparently it did so well at festivals that A24 picked it up for distribution. So this is what I love about Rogen, Franco, Evan Goldberg, and their whole crew of actors and writers that I can't stand about Adam Sandler and his whole crew, is that when these guys get together, even though they're joking around, they're having fun, it's for a reason, and they're really there to make a great movie because of how much they love movies and because of how passionate they are. Versus Sandler and company, who just really don't care at this point, just use the excuse of making a movie to just party it up in some exotic location and have fun. We have gotten some of the best comedies of the past 2 decades from this crew, and it was only a matter of time before they broke into the drama field due to how much talent these guys really do have, which naturally makes The Disaster Artist my number 1 most anticipated movie for the rest of the year, and it is slated for a Christmas release. Does this change my excitement for any of the blockbusters that are left being released for the year? Of course not. But you do have to mix your palate with some actual good, smaller movies occasionally to combat the blockbusters, especially with how shitty a lot of the blockbusters are really starting to become. So that's it. That is my most anticipated movies for the rest of 2017. Let me you guys know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite, most anticipated movies are for the rest of the year. Make sure you also click that like button and that subscribe button, as well as to follow me on Twitter at MovieNerdReview, and head on over to the website, MovieNerdReviews.com. That is it. I will see you guys next time.